fucking carpet, you know, or something like that. Yeah, Ricky is, or one of my favorite fucking Ricky moments is when he's talking about, like, you know, they make fun of me, and some kids make fun of me and throw bottles at me and say, why do you live in your car? He's going, but they don't understand, it's not that bad. So I thought about doing that, but then I leave here and I go do a show in Iceland, and I thought that would be so confusing for them. They're like, he is cutting his hair in a weird way on his face. I don't even know if that's the accent. I guess they all sound like Arnold. So if I didn't have that gig, I would have done it, because it grows back in and shit. But unfortunately, I got that gig, so maybe next time I come up, if the hair's looking like this, I'll shave. And then I can bring Muse with me, put Bubbles glasses on. That's a long way of saying fucking, and they worked on my tooth, pulled the nerve out, it's dead, so I can eat the fuck out of these tidbits. And if I had this procedure, man, I would have been sitting here the whole night just, oh yeah, fucking. Your question, the answers would have been real short and shit like that. People are like, are you happy with your career? Tell us about it. I'm like, very happy. But now I can fucking talk to the audience. And rather than listen to me talk, we'll open it up to you. You got a microphone here, microphone there. Are there mics up top or no? No? Well, y'all are fucked. You can come down, and also when it gets late into the evening, people start yelling shit from the upstairs. You can feel free to do that.
Halifax loves you!
I said when it gets later, bitch. We just got started. But thank you, Halifax. Okay, so let's get it going, man. You guys ask questions. This is how it works. You guys ask questions, I provide answers, and we go for about 3 hours, maybe longer, depending if there's shit to do afterwards. We are in a high school. I was so charmed by this, especially when we actually got here to come to high school, because normally you get to the gig and there's like, here's a green room, and you're just hanging out backstage. The green room here was the drama room. So, you know, I learned a lot about dramatic structure. It's all written up on the board, and I was like, that's what was wrong with Cop Out, none of this. Tonight, man. A great, wonderful crowd. Place I've never been. High school. You throw those elements together, something magical might happen here tonight. Okay, so we got some folks here. I'm not much in for the dramatics and theatrics. You can turn the lights up on the house so we can all see each other. I always feel it's so unfair that they see me and all I see is just shapes. If we turn up the house lights, we can all look at each other. It'll make some people put their dicks away. So. Okay, we got one here, and then we can get up there too later on. You know, we'll make the ones upstairs yell. Let's start with, are you a girl? I am. Fuck off. We gotta start with It's just so rare that we ever get a girl up to the fucking microphone. It's normally dudes all the time and shit. They're like, how do you get a girl? Well, we got a girl. We got a Halifax girl. She ain't no Halifax girl.
I'm Sarah.
How are you? I'm Kevin. It's important.
So, I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
I've listened to all the podcasts, I'm a huge fan of Tell 'em Steve Dave.
All right.
Love Dragon Ball. And so I know a lot about you, but there's one thing I don't know. What is your preference, indica or sativa?
Oh, a weak question. I honestly don't have a preference. I used to be more of an indica person. Lately I've been on this sativa, which is pretty sweet. I've been smoking this Maui Wowie stuff, which most people know that blend. But this particular strain that they got out in California right now is just fucking, it's basically you take one inhalation and the gates of heaven open. And Jesus is like, what do you want to know? So that's kind of outside. I normally go for the indicas and shit. I'm a guy, weed works differently on me than it tends to work on other people. There are some of us productive stoners where our intake, we process and fuel it kind of differently. The stereotype, of course, is you smoke weed and then you lay on the couch and watch TV, you grab something to eat and some shit. And I guess that's true for a lot of people. I found that it's different for some people that kind of tag it on to productivity. When I realized I was going to start smoking on a regular basis, where I was like, oh my God, this is really good. Why did I wait? I'm 38 years old. Who hid the truth from me? You know, as soon as when I realized that, I was like, I'm going to do this on a regular basis. I'm going to recommit my life to something different, other than a human being. I'm going to commit my life to a weed. really realized I had to readjust everything, because once you do that, once you're like, hey man, I'm a fucking habitual stoner now, then people are just like, you know, they can tack you on any number of angles and say, oh, he's a fucking loser and shit. They can always say I'm a loser, but with that, they can find some other way to do it where it's like, he hasn't done anything worthwhile. I realized I had to up my productivity. If I was going to start smoking as much weed as I wanted to in my heart of hearts, I wanted to. And I knew, I was just like, this is amazing. Like, and it's so weird because people go like, well, didn't you know you made all those stoner movies? No, I was just making shit up. It's so funny though, like 15 years later, I was like, it's true? Oh my God. Like the day I finally watched one of my movies high, I was like, I understand why I have a career now. So right then and there, I said, as long as I'm going to smoke, as long as I'm productive, then nobody can attack me. You can't attack me on any level or angle if you're always smoking too much weed. I'm like, too much? Why? What do you mean? It's increased my productivity. You gotta work more. That's the thing. If you're gonna smoke more, you gotta work more. Otherwise, the shitters come at you from all angles and be like, he's hurting himself and probably some child. Bullshit. So I realized as soon as I wanted to start doing it regularly, I had to make sure that I was always gonna tag it up with something productive. So the moment I smoke, I start writing. Or the moment I smoke, I start tweeting. Or the moment I smoke, I record a podcast, or I cut a podcast, or I fucking work on the edit of a movie. It always has to be tied to something productive. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, and I tell you whenever I smoke, I tweet, you see all those tweets? You can pretty much figure out when I smoke, any point of the day. If there's more than one tweet in a row, and if they go on a flight of fancy or like, hey man, did you ever fucking realize that C-3PO and R2-D2, the relationship, the little droid is the right height? That's me sitting there smoking. And then it's how my brain like balances where I go, I'm being productive, you know? Even though sending tweets about fucking droids and Star Wars isn't productive, but to me, I can cognitively reframe and go, oh, it is, because in my line of work, that's what I talk about from time to time, droids that I didn't create. So as long as I had something to tie it to, then I felt justified and whatnot. So for the last, let me see, 38 is when I started doing it fairly regularly, age 38. I'm 41 now, so I've been a hardcore stoner for about 3 years. And if you go back and look at my entire body of work, I'm not talking about quality, because some people will be like, bullshit, the good movies were in the beginning. If you just look at the body of work in terms of quantity, not quality, the amount of things that used to be done versus the amount of things that are done now, there's way more shit going on now. And that's solely because I want to smoke even more weed. So for me, it's been incredibly productive. I don't recommend it for kids and shit like that. Anytime I see teenagers, I'm like, don't smoke weed until you're 38, then smoke a shit ton.